Commemorating the 356th anniversary of Alexander the Great's death, we present to you a documentary on his life and legacy. This is the commander who won more battles than he lost. This is the king who built an empire that stretched from Greece to India. This is the man whose ambition knew no bounds, Alexander the Great. We often hear about him in school, about how he conquered vast lands, about his elephant encounters. But we rarely take time to sit and wonder who Alexander was. So let's do just that today. It's me. This is my channel. And this is the story of Alexander the Great. When Philip II of Macedon came to power, Greece was a mess. The city-states were constantly at war with each other. But Philip wanted to change that. He wanted to unite Greece under one banner and march into Asia. But he needed a strong leader to carry on his legacy. Enter Alexander. Alexander wasn't born a king, but by the time he was 13, he had already shown signs of being a natural leader. He was brave, confident, and extremely ambitious. Philip decided to send his son to be tutored by Aristotle himself. For 10 years, Alexander studied under the great philosopher and general, learning everything from warfare to politics to literature. When Alexander returned home, he married Philip's favorite wife, Cleopatra, bearing him a son, Ptolemy. Soon after, Philip was assassinated by his own bodyguard, giving Alexander the throne at the age of 20. He ascended to power in troubled times. The Theban Holy League was raging across Greece, aiming to end Macedonian dominance. But Alexander was up for the task. He took the field alongside his friend and general, Ptolemy I, where they defeated the Thebans and forged a lasting peace. But not all was well. Alexander's half-brother, Parmenion, was raising an army to take over the throne. So Alexander marched north with his army and forced Parmenion to flee to the shores of the Black Sea. There he raised another army and went south. Once again, Alexander pursued him, forcing his surrender at the siege of Tyre. From then on, Parmenion became one of Alexander's most trusted generals. Now that there was peace in Greece, Alexander turned west, crushing rebellions in Thebes and Boeotia. He then embarked on the campaign that would make him a legend, the conquest of the Persian Empire. But before we move on, we want to thank you for watching and supporting us through the years. Do share this video with your friends if you think it will help them learn something new. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Anatolia with an army of 30,000 men. His first major battle was against the Persians at the Granicus River. Though outnumbered 2-1, Alexander's heavy infantry and cavalry easily routed the Persian ranks. He had come to conquer Asia, but there was one problem. Darius III, the Shah of Persia, had a bigger, better army, one that was waiting for him at the city of Issus in 333 BC. The two armies met outside the city, and what followed was a battle for the ages. Alexander's forces consisted of 24,000 heavy infantry, 4,000 cavalry, and 60 war elephants. Darius, on the other hand, had 40,000 foot soldiers, 10,000 horsemen, and 72 elephants. As always, Alexander led the charge, driving back the Persian cavalry and breaking through their infantry. Darius's forces crumbled and fled. Alexander had won one of his greatest victories. The road to Persepolis was now open, but Alexander had to stop at the city of Sidon first, which was guarded by one of Persia's best generals, Sallianus. With only 20,000 men, Alexander laid siege to the city. After 6 months, he finally captured Sidon, but not before losing much of his force. It was here that he got the news of his father's assassination. Despite the tragedy, Alexander continued eastward, pillaging the countryside as he advanced. At the Orontes River, he encountered King Porus of Pundravardana. Their armies clashed in what is considered the greatest battle between horse and elephant ever fought. While the infantry and cavalry fought it out, Alexander famously fought against enemy elephants on horseback. Eventually, the combined Macedonian and Indian elephants stampeded, causing havoc among both the armies. In the end, The battle went down in history as Alexander's greatest challenge against the elephants. After crossing the Beas River, Alexander's men refused to go further east. They wanted to settle down instead of marching to the ends of the earth, but Alexander didn't want to stop. He wanted to see the ocean, so he left the bulk of his army behind and set out with only a few thousand men. At the Indus River, he encountered King Porus again. The two became friends after Alexander had to cross the river. Porus helped him and offered to form an alliance against the Persians. Together, they assembled an army of 60,000 men and marched on Persepolis. On the way, they stopped at the royal city of Susa, where they found the treasury of the Persian kings. Alexander and his men looted the city, taking as much gold and silver with them as they could carry. From Susa, Alexander continued to Persepolis, where he was received as a hero. The citizens celebrated him as the liberator of Persia. On his way to Ecbatana, he even unleashed poisonous snakes into the audience at the theater, killing many. In Ecbatana, Alexander learned that Darius had died on the run from his own brother, Bessus, who had taken the throne. Now Alexander had a new enemy, but the campaign against Bessus did not go as planned. The roads were difficult to traverse, and the supplies were scarce. The Macedonians were far from home, and they started getting homesick. Many deserted Alexander and joined Bessus. Though Alexander managed to reach the Caspian gates, he realized that he couldn't move any further without a navy. So he returned to Susa, where he built a port city that he named Alexandria. He then sailed around the Arabian Peninsula to Egypt, where he founded yet another city that he named Alexandria. From there, he moved north to Syria, where he crushed a rebellion and took the city of Tyre. Then he headed back to Persia and prepared for the final assault on the empire. With 18,000 men, Alexander marched into the mountains of northern Iran. He captured the fortresses one by one until he reached the Sogdian Rock, where he finally defeated Bessus and put an end to the Achaemenid Empire. With Persia conquered, Alexander's men grew tired and they refused to move any further east. They had already traveled all the way from Greece to India, so they settled down in the Punjab region, where they established the new capital of the empire, Bucephala, in honor of Alexander's favorite horse. Here, Alexander divided his empire among his friends and generals, granting them the title satrap, meaning governor. He then embarked on a long journey south to meet the Indian king Porus again. The two kings hunted together in the forests of the Punjab, and during one such hunt, Alexander was fatally wounded by a poisoned arrow. He died in the city of Babylon a few weeks later at the age of 32. His wish to be buried next to Achilles in Greece was never fulfilled, as his body was embalmed and taken back to Alexandria in Egypt, where it still rests to this day. Alexander may have died young, but he achieved a lot in his short life. He expanded his empire from Greece to India, defeated the mighty Persian Empire, ended the rule of the Achaemenid dynasty, and gave his name to several cities across the known world. He was a brilliant strategist, a charismatic leader, and a man who lived life on his own terms. Perhaps that's why we still talk about him today. That's all for the day. What do you think? How would you have led Alexander's army to victory at the Battle of the Hydaspes River? Let us know in the comments section below. Make sure to subscribe for more amazing stories, and I'll catch you in the next one.